FIDIC, what happens is that the engineer does the entire role. He supervises the contract. He or she takes care of any disputes. This engineer's role is now changed to what is called the dispute avoidance and adjudication board. So if you are not satisfied with what the engineer has said, you will go to the DAAB. If you are not satisfied with the DAAB, you will go to arbitration. This is when you are using FIDIC contracts. If you are not using FIDIC contracts, what would happen is that you would try to settle the dispute amicably. And if you can't settle the dispute amicably, you will go to arbitration. Once you reach this stage, once you reach the arbitration stage, the understanding of arbitration remains the same. You see, arbitration is a procedure. So like you would have dealt with this in court, you are now dealing with in arbitration. I know it sounds all fancy to say arbitration in XYZ and I do arbitration in technology and all of those things. The core of arbitration still requires you to be a master of procedure, right? And you can only be a master of procedure in arbitration when you know your CPC very well or the court procedure very well, because otherwise you will not be able to draw a distinction between the two. Now to come back, arbitration in energy disputes, why are they different? And I'll just take 1 minute to explain this. The employer, or let's say here the government undertaking, and the contractor, right? When the employer or the owner is going to invoke arbitration, which very rarely happens, at least by the public sector undertakings, he is going to sue for two things: delay and breach, right? What do we mean by breach? Any kind of breach. For example, the material was not proper, it was in short supply, time was of the essence, so you were in delay, right? That's broadly, or what it will sue for is the loss that it is going to incur, which is your direct losses. The contractor, on the other hand, is going to sue for various other things. One is loss of profit, right? Loss of overheads. And what do we mean by overheads? The cost of having a staff, the cost of having an accountant, the cost of having paying rent for the factory and the office. All these are considered overheads. Then they are also going to sue for delay, which will just be damages. All right. In all of this, the reason why energy disputes become slightly different from an ordinary arbitration is because the computation of these losses becomes slightly tricky. All right. And that is why which contract you are operating under becomes very, very important. Now, if you are trying to talk about losses, you have to show, number one, that the delay that has happened is because of this employer. But for this delay, if this delay would not have happened, A, you would have made profit. B, your cost of your factory and staff and accountants and all of that would have been met. And obviously, there's no cause of delay damages here. And this would have been commercially viable to you. It all sounds fun, but it's very difficult to prove. Right? The employer, on the other hand, can very easily prove that, look, because you didn't do this properly or because you didn't do this in time, I had to terminate your contract, and now that contract will have to be executed by someone else. Okay. So in terms of burden of proof or computation of damages, it's very easy for the employer to ask somebody to prepare a report as to what it will cost me now to finish this project. And that is what we call the cost of escalation. So you will ask the arbitral tribunal for the cost of escalation. So what happens in all of these is that the contractor now is asking you or asking the arbitral tribunal that, look, when I entered into this project, I expected this much amount of profit. I have moved my manpower, I have moved my resources, I have moved my machinery to the site. Now, because let's assume, for example, there was some problem at the site, whether the site was not available, whether the drawings were not proper, whether the survey was not conducted properly, for some reason, or let's assume there's an environmental issue, for some reason, you are not able to operate at this site. Because you're not able to operate, now your machinery is sitting there idle, your labor is sitting there idle. So, what you're going to claim is going to be damages, or let's say not even damages. First, you will claim the loss because your machinery and manpower is idle, right? Proving this is the most difficult aspect in an energy dispute, because how do you separate the cost of an HR or an accountant to a project? How do you say that, look, this person was only relevant for this project and not for anything else, right? So that's the first issue that happens. The second is, how do you prove that the labor was actually there? So the employer will always turn around and say, look, the labor was missing. Now the point that I'm trying to make here is, how do you prove you had labor at site? So when you're computing damages or when you're asking for loss, especially in energy disputes, you have to show a record that X person, the timesheets, right? Labor logs, your EPF receipts, the cost of moving machinery from here to there. If you've rented that machinery, then your rental amounts. Again, you can imagine how difficult this is becoming, right? Uh, Recently, I was interacting, or let's say teaching the executives from one of the biggest names in India, and just for the sake of confidentiality, I won't mention it. And we were talking about an offshore gas pipeline, and the engineer was he said it's very easy for me to claim anything simply because there is a ship. Every person who boards the ship, there is a log. There is something called a person on board, and therefore I can prove how much labor I actually had at the site. That may not be very easy when it comes to land. Secondly, what happens is that people subcontract. So when people subcontract, it's actually the subcontractor that maintains the log, right? So why am I talking about these things? Because when we are talking about computation of damages, it is tricky. It is tricky because I don't know how many here have heard of the formula that I used called Hudson formula, Eakley formula, and the Emdem formula. And what these formulas basically do is that they help you assess what is the kind of loss that has happened when there is a delay in the project. So that is what these formulas actually land up doing.